energy and attentiveness and just being here and being present with us. It was really nice. Just a few little housekeeping notes, in case you don't know now or whatever it is. The washrooms are just out the door and to the left, and there's other washrooms out there to the door to the right. And if at some point you feel that you need a break for yourself for whatever reason, maybe you're triggered by something or you just need some time to yourself, there is an elders lounge just behind the escalators over here, that way. And you can take some time for yourself there. And if you need to smudge, you can do that there. Okay? What else we got?
We're just looking at the agenda before we actually get into the agenda, just to let you know that we do have a health break this morning from 10:15 to 10:30. We do have an hour lunch. Since this is a very new forum, a new gathering in terms of addressing this particular issue with First Nations Family Advocate Office, we understand that sometimes people get very passionate and take their time sharing their story and sharing their presentations. And we tend to believe that when ceremony is done, that we learn to trust in the process of creators' time. So as MCs, will help guide that time and give people reminders, gentle reminders about those health breaks, which is really important for people. If they have health issues, they need to eat, they need time to rejuvenate themselves, take a break, and in the afternoon we'll also have a health break.
Wonderful. Yeah. I'd like to do just a quick little review of yesterday and thank all our presenters and the speakers. Arlen Dumas, the Women's Council, the Elders Council, the grandmother from the First Nations Family Advocate Office, Karen Swain, Pam Polymer, Larry Jourdain, and all the helpers and the runners from the food. Thank you all for your assistance and for your help yesterday.
And best practices, people who shared.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. And as well as each day, day 1, 2, and 3, we have an open forum from 3:30 till 4:30. And this is a time when people can share their best practices and asserting jurisdictions. This is an open forum for everyone because I know that people start thinking of things and putting dots together, and maybe they think this is a time when they can share in terms of best practices and asserting jurisdiction. I know these are, best practices is a buzzword because our ways have always been best practices. And I know that when we were talking about trauma-informed practices, and in my study of trauma-informed practices, that's our First Nations way. We've always been there as strength-based people. We're inclusive people. We acknowledge people in the past, present, and future, and we worked with people with where they're at, amongst a number of other approaches that we have as First Nations people. So I just wanted to share that. So that's a good time for those of you who haven't had a time to share to come to the open mic at 3:30. We have 2 more days of that. Want to share a joke?
Okay. I guess it's not too early for a joke. All right. So why did the blind man fall into the well? Because he couldn't see that well. All right. Okay, this might be too early for this one, but so Laurie and I were sitting here thinking, like, what are we going to do to, like, entertain you guys and get you guys interactive with us? And I don't know what made me think of this, but I was like, why don't we get, like, 2 chickens that are uncooked and make, like, a 50-50 draw and put the winnings in one of the chickens and then put a bingo dabber in the other chicken, and then whoever wins gets to pick out whatever, and if they don't get it, then another one has to come and get it, pick it, you know. But the idea of, like, reaching into a chicken and getting people to do that, I don't know. Do you guys like that idea? No. I know, for me it was hilarious. I mean, I would love to see that, but it's okay if you guys don't. So we're not going to do that. We're skipping the chickens, just to let you know. So there's no chickens. What else we got?
Okay, should I share about the moon?
Let's do it.
Okay. So about the chickens, I was too scared of botulism. I said, no, Jason, we don't want to go there. So I do have a joke. I'm not really good at delivery, so bear with me. And when I first heard this is about between two tribes, but we're not going to go there yet because we're still warming up with each other. So I'll pick on my sisters, okay? So anyways, my older sister asked the younger sister, what do you think is closer, the moon or Vancouver? And my younger sister says, nee, of course the moon is closer. You can see the moon. See, I told you.
Wow, that was a good one.
Okay. Some of you know my sisters. Don't tell her I told that joke, okay? Okay. So should we go in? Should we go into intro to the agenda?
So are we, so
Yeah.
we got, he's not 9:30.
Just some highlights, yeah.
Okay,
Some
sure.
time frames.
Okay, so this morning we got our keynote speaker coming up, Mr. Isaac Murdoch, and he's going to be talking on the topic of history of child apprehension based on research of Indigenous pictographs. That will be our guest around 8, very, very soon, I think, probably in about 5 minutes or so. Is Isaac around? Is he here now?
He's over here.
There he is. There you are. Awesome. Okay. Stand by, Isaac. Get your drum ready, Isaac. Okay. Intertribal. Here we go. No, I won't do it. Okay.
Time for
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have some time for breakout sessions as well from, I guess, maybe it's going to move a little bit. So it was scheduled for 9:30 to 10:15. Might shift a little bit, but we'll let you know how that goes. Okay? So maybe, without further ado, let's bring up our first speaker, Mr. Isaac Murdoch. Give him a warm round of applause, please. Anytime, Isaac. Here comes Isaac. All right.
Good morning. We're going to start the day off with Shannon singing a song. And so at this time, we'll just give Shannon our attention as she sings for us. Miigwech.
Yo,
Thank you very much, Shannon. That's just amazing. That's amazing. Ani bonjour. Manzanap kinegego nabe, indishnakaz. Geneb guk shibiga jwat and donjaba. Genoje do dem. I come from the fish clan. And in my family, we believe that our government is run by the animals. The animals are the leader of our government. And I remember as a child, we of course lived in the bush. We were trappers and hunters and fishermen and all that good stuff. And I remember hearing lots of stories about this amazing tunnel system that was underneath the ground. And my grandparents, they'd always tell stories about special places on the land. So we'd be paddling. Our whole lives were on the rivers or the lakes, and we portage with our canoes, of course. And we always knew that certain places were special to us, and that we'd always leave our offerings at these places all the time. The land was filled with spirits everywhere we went. They'd say, oh, the Memegwesiwak, they live over there in those big rocks. And we'd shoot our guns at that place. Or we'd leave maybe a shirt. Something nice we'd leave there. We didn't have candies to leave at those places back in those days. So we left what we had. Or we'd go to they'd say, oh, a serpent lives. There's a tunnel and the serpent lives at that place there. So we'd tie little sticks together with ribbons, and we'd leave our little offerings for those water spirits. Zenababatigo and Suck, they used to call those offerings, we'd leave there for those water spirits. They used to say, oh, the Manabe Koyak, the mermaids, they were seen there at one time long ago. So we'd leave things there for them. They'd say, oh, there's a thunderbird that lives up on that mountain. So of course we'd leave something there. We never traveled by these places without giving something all the time. All the time. Oh, Bagujininiwak, we seen that little wild person, those wild little Indians. They have a camp back there. So when we're going by, we'd leave little gifts for them. Our whole life was based on giving back to the land. We knew that that we're only guests on the earth, and we're only here for a little bit. And when we leave, we go back home. But this is their home. That's how I was raised in the bush. That's what they always told me. They believed that this tunnel system was underneath the ground. They'd say, oh, at Chigenebek Gaming, there's an old serpent that lives there. It's white, and it's so old it even has a white beard. And I'd be like, I'm so fascinated, I want to know more about that. They'd say it goes down Chigenebek Zibing, the river, and then it has a cave that it goes into this big rock. And they say that place is called Genebaguk Jabiajwat, the place where the serpents are written down. And of course, as a child, they would put us to fast at that place, because they knew that the spirits are underneath in the ground, and that's how we're to get educated. That's how we're to know our path, our life path, That's how we're to get educated about this world, was at those places. Then this tunnel would go there, and then it would go down again. It would go to a place called Mendiguayasin. And they say that there's big lizards, or big serpents, snakes, big like worms, chamanadosh. They live in those tunnels. And then the tunnel goes to Mendiguayasin. Then it goes to Bodashkaying. And this tunnel keeps traveling. It goes to Genebekneashing, the point. And then it goes to Bodashkaying. And then it goes to a place called Genebeguk Jabigajwat, the place where the serpents are stretched on the rock. And then this tunnel system, it keeps going. It goes to Asini Swasening. Then it goes to Nadwegojing. And then it goes to Ajdap Kissining. This tunnel system, it goes everywhere, underneath the ground. They always said, that's why our people, when we went into the agreements with the white man, we told them our natural laws. We were never to dig deeper than a hand width. We weren't to bother that power that's in the ground. That world that's in there is not ours to bother. Even us, we only bury our dead very shallow. We wrap them in birch bark. We're not to bother that underworld. If we try to take that power up, it could destroy everything. That's what I was told. And so at these places that I just said, there's always stories. Those are all fasting sites in where I come from. Our people would fast on those sites because they know that something lives there underneath. And one of the stories that I heard was at this place here. This place is called Moosjonsing. It means the place of the moose nose. We have really cool names where I come from. It's like the place of the moose nose. The reason why they call that is because by the water, there's a great big rock that sticks out. And it looks like a great big moose nose. And it's a very beautiful spot. But my grandparents, they took me there as a child. And they said that there's spirits that live inside those rocks. And that the rocks, they're covered with Maznabiyaganan, with pictures. And so I was so fascinated to try to understand what those pictures meant. And they said long ago, there was this young boy. That young boy's name was Matigmish. It means oak, like an oak tree, Tigmish. And they put that young boy to fast right at this picture that you're seeing. And on top of the rock there's a circle of stones. And he would sit, Matigmish had to sit there to try to get educated. The classroom is not the only place to get educated. When we put our young people at these places, they get a knowledge that comes from this earth that they'll never get in a classroom. Matigmish was put out there. And of course, his grandmother would go check up on him every few days, give him a little bit of water, give him a little bit of food. And she asked him, "Did you find your knowledge?" "No, I never did." So she kept checking on him and checking on him. A lot of days went by, and he was near death. And she asked him, "Did you find your knowledge?" He said, "Yeah, I found it." She says, "Well, you're just saying that because you've been out here a long time." She says, "No, I think I really found it." She said, "Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nest. And I'm going to make this nest out of cedar. The little strands that are in the cedar bark. While I'm making this nest, I want you to pray. And so, of course, that little boy prayed Metigmish on his vision quest. His face was all painted black with coals, so it'll make him strong. Mkdewiwen is what he was on. That's what they call that ceremony. And she started to make this nest. And when it was done, she said, this nest is like a robin's nest. And I'm going to try to light it on fire. If I can get it on fire with one strike of this flint, then I know that your vision is true, and I'll let you go. And so she grabbed that flint and she hit it. One spark flew up. It landed right into that nest. And she lit that fire for that boy. And of course, she knew that that vision was true, and she let him out of that vision quest. And she asked him, "What's your vision?" And he looked at his grandmother and said, "A very powerful man is coming. A very powerful man. And we have to prepare." That was his vision. He was just a little boy when he said that. Years later, there was a gathering at a place called Obijuang. Obijuang doesn't exist anymore because the settlers came in and kicked everybody out. But before, it used to be a place where a lot of people would gather to have their ceremonies and have their lodges. And the people were gathering at Obijuang. Tigmish was very old, still waiting for that vision to come true, and was at that gathering. They're all sitting there smoking their pipes. Metigmish said, "Listen to that pwagan over there, that pipe. It's making a noise." That pipe was on a pipe rack. Nobody knew whose pipe that was. It was mysterious. How did that get there? Whose pipe was it? Nobody knew. But it was making a noise, a crackling noise. You know, like when you're making zasiganak. You know, you're making, you're frying up fat. You know, say you have an important guest coming. So you're making your zasiganak. It was making that kind of a noise. Crackling. Tigmish put his ear against that pwagan to see if he could hear what it was saying, but couldn't understand it. Finally, another shkinene, another medicine person, grabbed a little bit of something and shoved it in his ear and said, "Now you'll be able to hear everything that pwagan, that pipe is saying." So of course they put that medicine inside Tigmish's ear, and then he listened to that pipe, and the pipe told him everything about this man. Everything. He said, "This a long time ago. From a distance I watched you fast on the top of that rock." That's what that pipe told him. "A long time ago I watched you fast there. You prayed there. And we were proud of you. And we also know what you've seen. And we've come back to tell you that it's coming very quickly." This place that I'm looking at now on the screen, Nov-26, you could see it from the lake, and there's a tunnel in front of that rock. There's a tunnel that goes down a hole, and it goes into this rock. They always seen a serpent there. So anyway, that pipe was talking to him and said that this man is coming. This man is powerful, very strong, and that there's 2 serpents inside this man's arms, and that it's going to be hard to stop this man. And that each serpent represents a government. And that this man will carry 2 governments, one in each arm. And that this man is going to want to steal our lands. And is going to steal the children so that to steal our lands. And that the children, they have to tie feathers in their hair. We have to tie feathers in all of our children's hair so that they'll find their way back home. And that the feathers represent knowledge. That they represent knowledge about this earth, about our ways. And that they'll find their way back home if we tie the feathers in their hair. So of course, they went to the place where he had that vision. They traveled across the lake to Nov-26, and they painted his vision and what the pipe said on that stone where he fasted. And these are the images that I'm showing you now. There's the man with the serpents in the arms. And there's the boy, or the child with the feathers in the hair. And they say that the feathers represent knowledge, is what they say. And I always think about this. They say they're going to steal the children to get the land. Well, of course, we already know that. We can't be so hard on ourselves that all of these children are taken away. This is all part of the plan. They call this, which again? They call this a prophecy, or something that was going to happen in the future. And of course it's happening now. When Canada became a country in 1867, they inherited something called the Indian problem, which is a free roaming people that had their own laws, that had their own government. We had our own way of life on the land. We were a free people. We had our own economy that was sustainable based on our education system. And the government hated that. So they created the Indian Act. They forced all of the people off the land onto the reserves so that they could be forced into society. And of course, they take the children as a way to reprogram them so that they'll never go back to the land. Because their whole agenda was to have a free-for-all and resource extraction in our territories. And they had to get rid of the Indian problem to do it. This is all about land. And so when I was 5 years old, I was apprehended by Indian agents. So was my brothers. And it was hard on our family. It still is hard on our family. But now we know why it happened. This was all about land. As long as our Our people are forced into programs and services economy that's hand-fed by the government. We're not in a sustainable economy, in a land-based economy that's going to interfere with resource extraction. Our government is the land. So as long as we're oppressed and under their system, then we're not truly free how we want to be. So this plan of theirs starts with the children. You take them. You come up with every excuse. You villainize the people. You make them feel bad like it's their own fault. And you keep taking those children and you keep forcing them into society so that they could have that free-for-all and resource extraction, which is happening right now as we're sitting at these amazing tables. The lands have been wiped clean of Indigenous people. Success? Go to school. Go to university. Get a job. Run one of these programs. That's success. Not going back to the bush. Learning what a sustainable economy is. The globalization of Western education is wiping out Indigenous systems all over the planet. Languages are rapidly disappearing, and people simply just don't know how to have a sustainable economy that this world desperately needs. We will not survive as a species if we do not understand how to live with nature. There is no difference between economy and ecology. It is the same thing. You have to have a strong ecology to have a strong economy. And for those that lived on the land, you know what I'm saying. You have to have a strong environment to live. And it has to be in balance. We're not to dig deep. We're not to bother that power in the ground. Our life is here on top of the earth. When I look at this picture, I think about all the thousands of kids that are taken away. The government is laughing because they did it up until this point. They successfully have a lot of our children contained. We're in the system. We're in the Canadian politic. We've been absorbed into Canadian society. And the free-for-all is massive, and we're suffering a massive ecological collapse as a result of it. And we need to rise up. We need to stand up and rise up like we've never done before. This cannot continue. We have to take the time to believe in each other and lift each other up, and we have to unite for our children. They are the future, and if we don't unite for them, and if we don't stand up for them, then this just gets carried on. What is happening is an act of war against our people. This is how you steal countries, is what they did. What they did here, they actually did in Scotland. They did in Ireland. They did this all over the world, this blueprint. This is how they do it. This isn't they didn't fluke this off. I mean, they knew what they were doing, and they still do. And now we're so entrenched in the system, we don't even know what to do. But you ever notice when we're at the table with the government, land is never on the table. The only thing they have to offer us is colonization. They never offer us land. Our land. Never they do that. That's the last thing they want us to have. That's not the Queen's land. That's not what those agreements were made for. It wasn't to give everything to them. We were to have a life on those lands. We were to be able to have our Anishinaabe life on those lands forever. That was the deal. And that we were to respect each other. that we were going to follow the natural laws. None of us would bother things. That they would have free passage through the waters. But of course, we know that history, took another turn. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? We could sit here, I believe, for many more generations, trying to change the system from the inside out. And it's going to cost us a lot of money. We're going to fight each other to the death, because that's what Indians do. And we probably won't accomplish much. Because when you're against something, it's not as powerful as when you're for something. When you're for something, it creates a different energy. When you're for the river, it's different than being against a pipeline. When you're for something beautiful, it's stronger than being against something ugly. We don't need those foreign laws on our people when it comes to our children. We're the bosses. We're the ones that make the decisions about our kids. We're the ones that dictate what happens. We're the police. We need our men to stand up and start protecting these children when they're being wrongly apprehended. Even if we got to fight, we protect our children. We don't let another nation come into our homes and steal our children. And if a family is struggling, we help them. We don't need to get paid or have it run through a program. Help them. Go over there. Find out what's going on. Maybe the couples are having a problem. Maybe the husband's being a jerk. They're fighting. We'll straighten them out. We don't always have to react. If we know families are in trouble, let's take the time to go and help them out. Back where I come from, we had a gathering. A family was in trouble because they started drinking, and the man, he started to be bad. And so we moved in. We had a clan ceremony. We smoked our pipes. We asked our grandmas to come help us. And we intervened with that family, Fish Clan. And we were able to help that situation. It never ever reached the paper because that was our job. As community, that's our responsibility. And it didn't cost us anything. And they felt so good because community came to help them. This is where the power lies, inside here. That's where the power lies. Our true strength of changing things is inside of us. Do I have 5 minutes? I just got a 5-minute cue. So I got 5 more minutes to do this. That's where the real power lies, is inside of our own selves. Remember what the story said. Look at the picture of that little boy, that little girl in the picture. When we tie feathers to their hair, they'll find their way back. This old picture, I don't know how old it is. It's a long time ago. But I believe, I really, really believe, if we can put our differences aside, stop gossiping, stop tearing each other down, we lift each other up, build each other up, support each other. We start building our our Inoknagewan, our laws. We start building that up. We start building our own fires so great and so bright that the government, as soon as their papers try to go near it, they'll just get burnt up. Our laws and our ceremonies are very powerful, and I believe that. We don't need them. They actually need us. The more that we participate, the deeper we get lost. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you for listening to what I had to say. I really, really enjoyed everything that I heard here. I did everything. All the talkers were brilliant. And it really shows that, you know what, we are rising up. Let's keep going. Let's be tougher. Less papers. More pipes. More fires. Less in the schools and more in the bush. So we can get good and strong. And I believe that's how we're going to get our children back. Nahaw, miigwech, miigwech.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Isaac, for your powerful words and bringing us to our root, our history. We could sit here all day and listen to Isaac, and a number of the speakers, right? And I know that he continues to share. He mentioned a little bit about taking care of each other. And for those of you who have taken life skills in the 80s and 90s, there's a theory called Tuckman's theory, forming, storming, norming, and performing. And we're certainly going through storming right now. And we have to enact our peacemaking ways, our governance ways to take care of each other through hard times and bring back our peacemaking ways. I think that's what that's what I got from Isaac. And he spoke about governance and psychology and philosophy and so much. Like I said, we could listen to him all day. Thank you so much, Isaac. Again, let's give him a round of applause.
Okay, so now we're going to get into our breakout sessions. I'm going to do my best to pronounce some of these names. The first one is Living Proud, Stand Strong, and Walk Tall. Earl Lambert in meeting room number 6. This one I'm going to try, see if I get it right. Dajiwawat. So They Will Come Home, the Moccasin Project by Jody Williams. That will be in 5 West. Resilience and Reconciliation, How a Bus Driver Showed Us Anything Was Possible by Kevin Chief. That is in 4B North. And the last one is 7 Phases of Life. That's Wally Swain and Karen Swain in 4A North.
Can we just remind the helpers in each room to just to let people know that we do have a health break about around 10:15, 10:30, and then we'll have another breakout session at 10:30. We'll see you back here after lunch, I guess. Yeah. We have 2 more breakout sessions after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that my coffee?